Today we're going to talk about how America became a superpower. How did a handful of colonies, built on the edge of the world, turn into the most powerful nation on earth? We're not just talking about a little success. We're talking about going from being ruled by Britain to becoming the global heavyweight. And it didn't happen overnight. It started with a gamble, a fight, in the single greatest land deal in history. Picture this, it's 1801. The United States is a young country, still hugging the East Coast. President Thomas Jefferson had a vision, but there was a problem. A massive chunk of land to the west, the Louisiana Territory, was owned by France, led by the Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. Now, Napoleon needed cash fast. A war was coming with Britain, and his dreams of a North American empire had just collapsed because of a massive slave revolt in a place called Haiti. So he made a decision that would change everything. He offered to sell the entire Louisiana Territory to the United States. The price? A mind-blowing $15 million. To put that in perspective, in today's money, that's over $400 million. But what did they get? Over 2 million square kilometers of land, everything from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains. This one purchase doubled the size of the United States overnight. It was the moment America stopped being just a small coastal nation and decided it was going to be a giant. They had the land. But land alone isn't power. You need people. And America got them by the millions. Starting in the 1840s, a flood of humanity crossed the ocean. They came from Ireland fleeing starvation, from Germany escaping war, from all over Europe looking for any kind of hope. Between 1851 and 1900 alone, over 27 million immigrants poured into the country. They became the workers who built everything. So now you have the land and the people. Now comes the fire. And that fire is called the Industrial Revolution. But America didn't just invent things, they went all in. After a brutal civil war from 1861 to 1865, a war that was bloody and terrible, the country came out with a new focus. The North had won, and the nation was now committed to building, not dividing. They built railroads, hundreds of thousands of miles of them, stitching the entire country together. They discovered oil in Pennsylvania. They figured out how to make steel cheap. Men like Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller built empires not just by making things, but by making them faster and cheaper than anyone else on the planet. By the end of the 1800s, the US was already the world's top industrial giant. So by the turn of the 20th century, America was already a giant, huge in land, packed with people, and roaring with industry. But being rich at home isn't the same as being a superpower on the world stage. To make that final leap, they had to do something else, something that involved the entire world going up in flames. World War I breaks out in 1941. For 3 years, America stays out of it. But in 1917, they get pulled in. And here is where the real story begins. While Europe was destroying itself in the trenches, America's factories were just getting warmed up. Once they entered the war, they didn't just send soldiers, they became the arsenal for the Allies. Ships, guns, food, and money. They lent and supplied so much that when the war ended in 1980, the old powers, Britain and France, were deep in debt. In the United States, for the first time, they became the world's biggest creditor. The world owed them money. Then came the 1920s. America was riding high, the roaring 20s. They were making more cars than the rest of the world combined. Movies, radio, skyscrapers, all American. It looked like the party would never end. But then, the crash, the Great Depression. From 1929 to the late 1930s, the American dream turned into a nightmare. Banks failed, millions lost their jobs, people stood in bread lines. For a moment, it looked like the giant was down for the count. But then a second world war came, and this time it changed everything. World War II. At first, America tries to stay out of game, but on December 7, 1941, Japan attacks Pearl Harbor. The sleeping giant was awake and angry. What happened next has no parallel in history. America turned its entire country into a war machine. Car factories started building tanks. Typewriter companies made rifles. Henry Ford, the car guy, built a bomber plant that could produce one B-24 airplane every hour. By the end of the war, the United States had produced two-thirds of all the military equipment used by the Allies. They had built more ships than Japan and Germany combined. While Europe and Asia were left in rubble, America's factories were stronger than ever. When the war ended in 1945, America was the only major power on Earth whose homeland wasn't destroyed. They had the world's strongest navy, the largest air force, and something no one else had, the atomic bomb. But here is the smart part. Instead of pulling back, they doubled down. They give billions to rebuild Europe through the Marshall Plan, not just out of kindness, but because strong allies and open markets were good for American business. They helped create the United Nations, set up the dollar as the world's reserve currency, and made sure that the world's oil was traded in dollars. Then came the Cold War, a 45-year standoff with the Soviet Union. This wasn't a shooting war, but a race for everything: space, technology, influence. America built highways, funded schools, poured money into science. In 1969, they landed a man on the moon, a moment that screamed to the world. We are the leaders of the future. When the Soviet Union fell apart in 1991, there was no one left to challenge them. For the first time in modern history, one nation stood alone at the top. So how did a former British colony get here? It wasn't luck. They grabbed the continent for pennies on the dollar. They invited the tired, the poor, the hungry, and put them to work. They turned wars into opportunities to build, not just to fight. And after every crisis, they came back bigger than before. From a few rugged colonies to the world's policeman, banker, and pop culture maker, America's rise is a story of geography, timing, and a relentless hunger to be number one.